Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Really happy to see you guys here again. It's been a while since I uploaded. I've been really busy, so I apologize for that. Definitely gonna start being more consistent if you really enjoy the videos. Today's gonna be a really interesting one. I'm actually gonna show you guys a recording from today doing my trade recap on my live stream that I did with my community. And the first video I'm actually gonna be showing you guys is Friday's outlook. So I basically predicted the whole move today. So I basically made an outlook Friday, going over what I expected Monday to do in relationship to what the previous week did. So I'm gonna play that clip first, and then after I play that clip, I'm gonna put in the trade recap that I did today. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, like and comment. And if I get enough likes, that's gonna give me more motivation to make these videos. So I know that you enjoyed them. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and yeah, have a good watch. The weekly candle basically does this, where the weekly candle is kind of opening low first, and then we form an SMT here, which becomes the trigger for re-expansion, and then we trade back into that weekly range, right? So that's like the logic behind it. And here's where we form another SMT with this low, right? So that's where here's where you kind of want to see. You want to either trade YM or ES here overall, depending on the overall strength. And we're actually going to see some sort of like 4-hour cracking correlation where now, YM the whole week was kind of more strong. But then like intraday on Friday, we're actually going to see that YM is the weakest for NQ and ES to become the stronger asset. And here's many times where now YM is going to become the weaker asset. It's like a strength switch. We trade into the high, stronger, we come lower. So now it's, look at the candle closure. It's all weaker compared to NQ and ES, which is forming a PSP. So this could be a, coming into Monday, this could form a two-stage PSP continuation lower for YM to catch up to these lows. Where NQ now, the daily candle is going to open right here, right? And it's going to open here. And then we can open high into this gap, whereas YM is closing bearish, so it's going to be really far away from this gap. That's where we could form a two-stage PSP, closes bearish, NQ closes bullish, whatever. So overall, coming into the week, we're gonna have in mind what happened last week, right? So I even explained this on Friday, where I was like, okay, so we formed this SMT, right, on this high with YM, right? So YM just into the range high. So there's a way stronger asset, right? Create SMT here, and then we start expanding lower. Now, since NQ is like balancing out this range right here, it's gonna be way closer to this low, so it makes sense for like first day Friday to expand into this low, whereas YM does not have to expand into that low on Friday, right? But here's where you're gonna see a strength switch, and this is really good right here. It's a real logical framework. So what do we see right here? We see that we close below this opposing candle, right? And we can see that we're showing it. See how we're closing this candle, a bullish candle, right? And if you look on YM, it's closing a bearish candle. So that's the type of strength we talk about, where NQ technically traded into the low, but then we're strength switching on Friday. And that's where this candle, the Friday candle, and Wednesday candle is going to create a fair value gap, right? So this would be the only point of continuation if this is the point of reversal up here, right? So here's where, when the weekly candle opens, what are we doing? We're opening low, opening high first. So if this, if this wick is going to be bearish, this is where I want this wick to be made, right? But like even coming in on Monday, it's so obvious. Like it's so fucking obvious where price is heading. So here's where we see that SMT fail. So we're seeing that strength switch where now YM is creating that two-stage PSP. This can closes bearish. This can closes bullish. Trades into that previous day's high. This gap also retests this order block. YM does not, right? So that's where we create that first cracking correlation right here, right? And that is where if you look on Friday here, you see how this asset traded into this low right here, so this relevant low. Now, the whole reason we make a strength switch is for YM to catch up to that same low, which is down here, right? So that's the whole reason why Monday was a really one-sided, narrative where price should go to. Because like, look at the highs. Where the fuck are we supposed to go to if not from this high, right? It's like the only logical place for price to start expanding lower from. So that's how we create this right here. So here's where my first trade is going to be at around 6 a.m. And I'm not targeting any specific. I'm targeting like some internal stuff. Not internal liquidity, but I'm going to show you. So I'm targeting specifically this, so this basically the low of day basically, right? So when we create SMT here, we're gonna go into it. Let me first go over daily so we don't rush through it too much. But now that we understand this framework, right? Let's mark out the PSP as well, right? Now we understand this framework. That's where you wanna specifically focus on YM. Now I did take the first trade on NQ, but I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna show you why, right? So it's gonna be logical. So let's first start by looking at my NQ trade, right? So we understand daily candle open side first, weekly candle open side first. Okay. Did we form that 2-stage PSP on the 4-hour time frame, or on the daily time frame? My bad. And then we see that the daily candle as well, it's opening high first, right? And we trade into this previous day's high, and then we create the SMT here. So here's where we kind of like, we don't want to trade 2 AM candle Y because it's forming a bearish reversal candle. So that's where specifically you want to focus on trading this 6 AM candle lower, right? So that is this is gonna look like this. So okay, now we can mark out. Remember how we had this dealing range here? We balance out the range, form the reversal, expand lower, that advantage premium discount. And here's where we can kind of do the same thing, where now we can mark out this range, so this range high. So from the reversal point where we create SMT to the high to the low, we can see we start balancing out this range. So this is, we want to find some sort of support level in premium of the range, right? So that is what we see right here. And 2M trades into the high, and that is where we can see that we close back inside this 10 p.m. candles range, and that is where now you want to find some sort of like, you want to trade like a swing point within this 6 AM candle, and it's gonna be hourly swing point, 50 minutes, 30 minutes, kind of depends on how it forms. But I'm gonna show you specifically what I was focusing on here. So this is my target. Now I was actually, this was so cooked, bro. Like I'm so unlucky. I took out 90% of my positions on this low, but I kept one in, and I'm gonna show you when I was gonna get out of that last position, and my alert didn't trigger, which is awful. But now we understand, like, okay, what is the daily candle open high first? SMT previous day's high. For me, for a reverse candle, what should this next 4-hour candle do? It should expand lower. What do we have below? We have low of day, which is a 4-hour swing point, right? Becomes a relevant draw on liquidity. So now we can go to the hourly time frame, right? So what do we see here? We see that this is the 2M candle high. So 2M opens high first, and then we close below here. So this will be the intra-candle exchange instead of delivery, which basically confirms this high is protected, right? Now, if you look at this right here, let me see if we have like SMT on this high or whatever. Not really, right? So if you look right here, we technically don't have an SMT on this high, so I can't trade this, right? Like, I can't trade this. There's no sweep of the high, But when we start closing below this suppose again, now I understand that this high is now protected in my eyes, and we don't need to return here. So now what I'm going to be looking for here is I'm going to see how this 6 AM candle opens. And I'm going to see like, okay, within this new hourly and 4-hour candle, I want to see is there going to be a 50-minute swing point form, and then I can trade 30-minute lower, or is a 30-minute swing point going to form and I can trade the new hourly candle lower, which is going to happen right here, right? So that's what we talk about all the time. So we close below here, right? We trade into, I think we trade into, let me get the sessions out. I don't know where it went actually. Oh, I accidentally deleted it. Awesome. All right. That's cooked. Okay, let's see. Where is this low? So this is the 2M candle low. All right. That's cooked. Let's see if I can get it back here. Okay. I think it's going to be cooked now. Okay. Yeah, let's just forget about that, I guess. I'm going to have to get that later. Let me do this real quick. Let me get this. And I'll do the... I remember you taught me this. Boom. Copy, Control C. Oh, what happened to my chart? Oh, awesome. All right, let's see here. Sorry about that. So we go here, and then we'll do this. Okay, there we go. Now I have it. Awesome. All right. So now, when we're in this price action, let's skip back price here, so it doesn't get too much stuff. So let's skip back. All right. So now we understand what? We understand that from this reversal. So we trade 6 AM lower. So now we can go to the hourly time frame, right? And that is what we see. This is what we see right here. We're now, we're closing below this opposing candle. What can we see here? We see that we trade into Asia session low. So this basically triggers that new phase of price. So remember what we always talk about. If we trade into a low, now we want to form, a new phase of price, and we want a new swing point, whatever, right? So now we see a 6 AM candle opens high first. What do we trade into? We trade into a point of interest, which is this hourly order block from that London reversal. So that would be Asia, open high, London reversal, trade into Asia low, new phase of price, retracement. So as we can go to the 30-minute time frame, right? So that's where I'm just waiting, right? I'm looking for some sort of correct correlation. I'm looking for a swing point, right? And that's what we see right here. So if you look on ES right here, let's remove all this stuff. So what you see right here is that, you know, ES trades into this fair value gap, right? Whereas YM does not. So that's the whole reason why I'm actually focusing on you know, NQ. Wait, I'm pretty sure. Wait, let me see, 530. Yeah, YM actually does trade into it as well, which is interesting. But it trades into it at 6 a.m. But there's no swing point forming, so I need to wait for the 6:30 candle. So it doesn't really matter too much. I wanted to get too in depth into that. But here's basically with NQ make that lower low, right? And we can see that YM basically closes above it here. So it's showing overall strength, even though we have like this daily PSP, whatever, right? I'm focused on mainly NQ because intraday it's showing overall weakness, you know, on this 30-minute time frame. So we form this SMT fill. So one asset does not fill the gap, whereas you know, one asset fills the gap and one does not. So that's where we have that SMT fill right here. So we can mark that out. So we have that SMT fill, right? And that is where, you know, we see that now 6:30 is doing well. We see that 6 a.m. candle is opening high first. So we're making the wick here. So the wick is being made on the 4-hour time frame right here inside this gap, form the SMT, and we close back inside the range. So now what is happening here? This 30-minute candle is closing back inside this previous 30-minute candle range. So now this 7 a.m. candle is doing what? It's opening within a 30-minute swing point within a gap. So that is where this high is now going to be an hourly high when we open this 7 a.m. candle. Why do we not need to trade into this hourly gap? Because we already have a swing point internal to this hourly wick right here. So that is where you can trade 7 a.m. candle lower, and then you can trade into this low. So that was my trade. I don't know if I can. I should show here. Let me see if I can get the NQ. Yeah, right here. So see, take this trade, right? No, that's not. That's my break-even trade. Wait, where is it? It's right here. So I take my trade right here. So basically, let me go back here. So you know, I formed a reverse up here. Okay, so we trade into the low, retracement, SMT, we make the change in state. Now, what I'm specifically looking for here is I'm waiting for this gap here to be inversed, right? So you see how price kind of shops around. So we close below here. You see how we're still holding the gap. So I'm just waiting, right? So I'm waiting for this new change in state. And that is where I want this gap to be inversed and also close below this opposing candle. So that continuation gap, order block, right? And that is overall where, you know, we close here, we get that continuation, we inverse this gap, right? We trade lower, and then we have this gap. So I was actually going to enter here, where we can see we got some strength here. So if we get strength coming lower here, we inverse this gap, you know, we get the continuation order block, right? We already have this would be that failed to reverse, right? Where we don't take the first order block formed. So look at this. This is what I talk about all the time. So we trade into the low. Why do we not take this order block? Because we want to wait for an new phase of price. So people that started shorting this order block get stopped. Then I get in when we form the new correcting correlation with the gap. And then we expand. We have this gap right here on the 5. And that's where I get in when we retest here. So I get in around here on this candle. And then I target to this low right here. So I take my position here. I put my stop, I think it was right here. And I target this low right here. So that was my trade here. Really, really clean trade overall. And I was gonna, this is so cooked, right? So I take out 4 positions here. I was in 5 total. I was gonna leave 1 contract and let it run to this low, right? Down here. So this would be the previous week's low. Now the interesting part, I was gonna take this first, but I was like, when price did it like kind of fucked around at 9:30 or start trading higher, I was just waiting for YM to trade into this also. This would be the asset organization we talk about all the time. So if you look right here, NQ trades into the low at 8:50, YM trades into the low at 9:30. So that is where I want to get out. And then I was looking at the 30-minute chart, right? But I was working right here, so I missed it. I put an alert on, but the alert never triggered, right? I don't know why it's cooked, right? I don't know why it didn't do it, but I was basically going to get out right here on NQ when YM hits it, right? So I was going to get out right here, if you look. So I was going to get out right here at 9:30. So I was going to get out right here, around here, right? Around this. But then I was working, and then it just was like up here when I started coming back, and then I got break even on my last position. It doesn't really matter too much though. That was like maybe $300 on that last position. I already took out 4 here. So that's all right. I don't mind that. But like really, really, you know, really good framework here. You know, open high first. We have a daily 2-stage PSP We have a London reversal. We wait for the new phase of price, current correlation, SMT fill. We get the continuation order block. We wait for retracement into the gap, fail to reverse. We target the next resting liquidity on the downside. This low is pretty far away. So here's where I'm actually going to take my second trade on YM. So we're going to go through that. We're going to start by, we're going to scale up to the higher time frame first. But that's basically where I was going to target to this low, right? So like we explained when I started the video here, the logic here is that since NQ last week has already traded into this low, that is where we want the YM now to catch up because it's showing me weakness. So look at this kind of closure, like I said. If you look on YM, weaker. So you want to see that catch up to this low, right? And that's what I said on Friday. Like, you guys remember this shit. Like, we have a gap. This is the only point of continuation. We already have a reversal. We have a protected high with this order block confirming it. So this is like, it's going to confirm. It's going to continue here. Like, it's really logical. It's the only point, right? So now we can get into the YM trade. So the YM trade, I don't like too much, which is the whole reason why I got breaking in on this shit. It's super emotional, right? Like, me and Rift, one of my good friends, he took the same trade as me, exact same trade. We didn't even plan it. So we posted at the same time. We're like, "She, bro, hey, we took the same trade. It's fire." But he's less emotional than me. I'm a fucking retard. So I got out of that trade, and then it delivered to previous week's low. So I would have caught like 8 or 9 RR. So I'm fucking cooked. It's all good though. We'll go over the framework. So we have the reversal right here. We have that SMT fill, like we talked about. If you go to the 4-hour profile, I'm looking like, guys, it's not the best, right? But you see, we understand that, at 9:30, like I just showed you guys. I can put it here so it becomes a bit more clear. But you see how, same principle here, 2 AM forms a reversal. We can see that around 9:30, YM catches up to that low that, NQ had already taken out. So that was that asynchronization where I took the NQ to this low. And then eventually, 9:30, the last 30 minutes of until the new 4-hour open, trades into the low, right? So, we don't have any upside here. Like, there's nothing targeted upside. So, like, don't pattern trade this stuff. So, like, technically, I'm pretty sure ES did not take. Oh, we did actually. So technically, we have like an asset organization. We trade into this low. We close back inside the range here. So many people are gonna like pattern trade this. Maybe it's like trading to these highs, but that's just illogical because it doesn't. The narrative is super bearish just because what happened last week and what happened in the opening, how the daily candles open, whatever, right? You guys get it. But then 6 AM trades into the low. Right, and that's where I want to trade, 10 AM. I want to see some sort of like current correlation, maybe a strength switch, whatever, to then trade YM lower into that low that NQ had already taken out from Friday last week. So that's where we can mark at the 10 AM candle here. Okay, so now we can go to the hourly time frame. And here's where it's going to be a bit interesting. Now, like I said, guys, pretty cooked. I did get break even here, which is retarded, but I do some mistakes sometimes. I'm not perfect. So what I'm looking at specifically here is that after we trade into this low, now I'm looking for some sort of like new current correlation, right? Which is we're gonna form right here, where if you look at these highs, so basically my entry was within the 6 AM candle on NQ. So now, since this high is already protected, this becomes like the relevant high, right? Like there's nothing relevant really up here. This would be like the most relevant high. It's gonna look even better on the 30. So like this is the most relevant high within this range, right? There's nothing really above. And London should hold just because kind of how it's forming or whatever. So I expect that London to be high of day. So London reversal to a New York expansion away from that. So that is where this we expand to the target. So now I want the new current correlation. That's where we form right here, right? Now I don't know why Gary took like he was explaining like don't take YM, but like to me it didn't make much sense. So let's just remove all of this for now. Oh shit. So let's remove this, right? And then we see this right here. Okay, so close here, like we were talking about. We form a SMT right here. Okay. Now, if you look on NQ, you see how, this 9 AM candle closes above this previous 8 AM candle high. So it's just, you see how it's just choppy here, right? Whereas if you look on YM, it actually closes back inside the range here. So it's looking overall better. So that's where we have the C2 candle, right? So if this forms a C2 candle, so, like we were talking about, like, just like we explained here. So we're going to go over it a little bit again, right? So if you go to the 30-minute, we trade into this low, new phase of price, retracement, new current correlation, expand. Same principle here again. So if you go on YM, what are we doing here? We trade into low, new phase of price. We trade low, higher, make the current correlation. We see, so that is where what? We want to see this close back inside the range. We do that. And now we want to focus on trading 10 AM candle lower, right? Because, it's just super logical overall. Then we can scale down to the 5-minute here. And then we see we form this SMT, right? Now, this opposing candle is pretty far away. So like the best case scenario, I don't really need that because we understand this 10 candle is kind of opening within a swing point, right? So we close back inside the range here, as we can see. So 10 candle opened here, close back inside this previous hourly candle high. So like I would say it's logical to even take this, right? Like mechanically speaking, this would technically be the order block confirmation. So this, when we close below here, this confirms this high. But like this technically, like 10 EM is doing what? It's opening, we close below this order block. So technically if you took this right here, I wouldn't say it's super bad. But you can see kind of how it's forming here. If you scale down to like the 1 minute, see how it's just kind of consolidating if you go to the 1. So it's like, I'm not really willing to take this. So here's where I'm going to wait for 2 scenarios. I'm going to wait for this high or this high to get taken, right? So I'm waiting for these 2 highs specifically to get taken before I can form some sort of reversal. And then I want like a V shape or like some sort of like, so what I'm specifically looking at today is I'm looking for gaps to be made. Because we can see here, there's no gap, no gap, no gap, no gap. So all I'm waiting for is the gap to be created and then trade away from that, right? So what we're going to form right here, I'm pretty sure, let me see. So if you go to the 15, so if you look right here, I'm going to remove all of this again so it doesn't get too confusing. So we have the SMT here, right? I want you to focus on this internal. So we already formed this high, and it's pretty far away, right? So here's where I'm looking internal to this. So if you look at this 945 candle high, here's where I want the, the reversal form. So here's where we actually form SMT. If you look at this high right here, and if you go to NQ, if you look at that 945 candle, it's just high, right? So this is like the relevant high we were talking about, where we were talking about like, okay, boom, what do we want to happen, either we want this high to get taken, but that actually got taken on YM, which is right here. So that's that exact same high, which is right here on NQ, right? So that's where we form that Kraken correlation. And that is basically where I want it to expand away from this high. But if it doesn't, if it just keeps consolidating, I'm not really going to take this. But then, I take this entry right here, right? So I wait for the closure. See how we're getting this kind of like V shape away? So before we're consolidating, so look at the difference like the 1 minute here. We consolidate and then we just start expanding, right? So that is where, that's like my sign to get in the market. So overall, I kind of fumbled here, guys. I'm not gonna lie, like I'm gonna be upfront with you always. So, we close below, I take my entry of this open, right? So we open high, I get in like right here. And then, I'm basically like waiting and I put in my stop about this high, right? And then I'm targeting this low right here, right? Now I could have like, shit, this was my overall target, but it's like too low in the range, right? It was like, yeah, let me see, where's the previous week low? It's down here, right? Wait, let me extra check here actually. So like this was my main target, coming into the day. Now I don't necessarily expect price to come all the way down to this low necessarily. That's like an 8.78 RR, but I probably would have, if I actually held this, I probably would have, taken majority of my positions off at this Friday's low. So this is the previous week's low. And then maybe hold like 1 or 2 positions. Maybe I got break even, then it delivered again. But yeah, I basically get in here. Now, what is the reason why I got out? That's a good question that I asked myself as well. But if you look on NQ here, my logical reason. So I'm just gonna go through why I actually exit this trade. So if you look right here, my entry was around here, right? Now look what this 1040 candle is doing. You see how we're still in that consolidation range? So YM is kind of breaking out of that consolidation range, right? Consolidation range. When price kind of like fails to take out this low and then start coming back inside the range. Now this was technically just a retest, rebalance this 5 minute gap. But that's basically what I got out in this gap. I don't know why, it's pretty retarded because we're getting that V shape away. So it's like logical. But kind of like, I didn't like how NQ was forming. So Gary took this trade where he basically got in like of the 3 minute right here. So he got in right here of this order block. And then when he got all the way up here, right, I was like, oh shit, Garrett's gonna get stopped out. And then maybe when he gets stopped out, now Y maybe falls with NQ, right? So I was like, shit, I'm just gonna get out. Like, Garrett's just fucking getting stopped here, right? So I got out, and then it edges Garrett's stop loss, which is up here, and it delivers to his TP, which is here. And then YM just fucking dumps to my TP. Which is awful, bro. Like I had the right perspective. Like I was looking at it like correctly, super clean, like really logical overall. Now, not the best price action, of course. Like just looking how this forms is really bad, but it's still a lot of logic within it. So that's the 2 trades I took. Right now, there's not really much to go on GC and RB or whatever. It's just shop. So I'm gonna show you, like, just look at GC, bro. I mean, bro, look how this is being shit. I mean, we technically did expand later in New York PM session, but just look at this fucking shop. Nothing here. And on RB as well, we formed like a 4-hour. You know, I wanted it to form a 4-hour PSP, a 4-hour 2-stage PSP. Now it's gonna be a bit hard to show this, but I can try to my best here. So basically one asset. So I'm looking at. Let me just get the 2 shards here. Let me get CL. If you can load, let's go. Okay. So it's what's happening right here, right? So basically, you know, if you look on CL and RB here, what I was looking at is, you know, look how this 6 a.m. candle is forming. So you can see how this candle is expanding, right? So this candle is expanding. It's expanding away from this 6 a.m. candle low. Whereas this candle is more so consolidating, or, you know, we hit this high, right? So this asset hits the high. We come close back inside the range. So this is creating basically I want this to create a 4-hour PSP. So if you look at this high is this high. So it's the exact same high, right? So what I want to happen here was for CL to trade into this high, right? So we created an SMT. Now this SMT was just made not for a reversal. It was made for a retracement. And now this new 4-hour candle is opening close to this previous 4-hour candle low. So here's where I want this 2-stage PSP to form, and that's where we form right here, right? And that's where I wanted this to re-trigger the expansion to catch up to this high on RB, right? Now, that doesn't happen. We trade into the low, right? And then that kind of breaks right here. And then we can see that actually HO started expanding higher. Now, I wasn't too focused on HO, because actually if you go to like the 5-minute, look how this shit is forming. It's so ass, right? If you look at this right here, we create the SMT here, so we trade into that 4-hour low. If you look at this price action, you see how we kind of just shop around. So HO expands, CL kind of like, it trades higher, but you see how we kind of keep it within a range, right? It's kind of just consolidating here. And the same principle on like RB, we just start grinding lower, right? So I'm not really interested in trading HO because it's totally decoupled. RB is grinding lower, CL is consolidating, and RB is expanding, right? So it's not something I can really trust, because how SMTs is formed, I don't want the SMT to form, to then come higher, to then break, to then break, so to come higher, so then break lower, and then come higher. Then, you know, I don't like that. So that is not something I was too interested in. And like on the higher time frame, I'm pretty sure I haven't looked at it too much. But, you know, if you look at, you know, this candle closure, you know, previous week, close back inside this range on first day, Friday trades higher. What do we have above highs? We have this relevant high. We have this previous week's high. And, you know, this high is just so irrelevant to me, even if CL trades into it, right? So we trade into that high or whatever. It's just so irrelevant to me. So I'm still going to be bullish coming into the week here. And we can also like mark out this wick. You know, we want to respect the 50%. Wanted to open low first, right? Daily. Wanted to respect the daily candle, whatever. We inverse this like daily gap as well, right? So like these highs becomes like, you see how we just have all these low resistance highs or whatever. So it made overall sense for it to continue off that 4-hour gap, but that kind of failed, so nothing there. And then like we said on GC, it's like there's no even profile here. I was kind of looking for like this, but then yeah, it just fucking showed, dude. There's literally nothing. So that's pretty much it. I'm gonna end the live here and then I can answer some questions. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Nothing too crazy today, but yeah, let's end the live there.